Now, I will tell you this. I'm envious of you guys. All right? It's going to be hot. It's going to be nasty.
All right.
You're going to hate it at times.
Thank you, Marty. Really, I will get you for the next sales pitch for something.
Right. You guys get to change somebody's life. All right? Seriously. You guys get to change somebody's life. If you think about it, when you go home to bed tonight, you take your shower when it's nice and hot, and you're in your air conditioning, drinking your tea or whatever. These folks that you're helping out don't have the opportunity. You will see where they live. That's not where they come for summer vacation. That's where they live. All right? We consider it a shack. And you're changing these folks' lives. You have the opportunity with your hands to do God's work to help those folks out. So take advantage of it.
Here, here.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. You'll learn something and you'll have a great time. And you'll change the world. Their world. So,
One person at a time.
Big thank you to Marty.
Thank you.
Here's the deal. I don't know if it's true or false, but when you're on the work site, is it better to fake it or ask a question?
Ask questions.
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. But standard and Phillips, standard is also known as flat. All right, that's pretty easy. You know, if you got a little cross like that, that's a screw, right? You use this one. If it's a slat, you use this one, right? Pretty easy. You guys have done that before, right? You can buy one of these. What I would suggest is getting a 25 or 35 foot tape measure. The reason is they're usually wider, about an inch wider. You can go out a long ways and measure with them, okay? Without it actually bending and breaking. And if you guys do any carpentry, this is on every tape measure that's 25 or 30 feet that is inch wide. The standard separation between the studs in the house, they say 16 inch on center. I'm going to add up real quick. 16, 32, 48, 64, 80. I'm not that good at math, really. All right, but if you look at a tape measure, you can see if you're laying stuff out, 16 inch on center, everything that's red, 16, 32, 48, 64, 80. See, we're not that smart. We just know the tricks. But everybody knows how to use this, right? You ever heard the phrase measure twice, cut once, right? What does that mean? You guys know?
Measure twice.
Measure twice, because once you get a piece of wood and you cut it, you can't join it together. So that's why you measure twice. And I can tell you, there's 1,000 times I've measured 8 inches and it's turned into 6 inches somehow. These are actually, it's called
speed squares.
Speed squares, yes. All right. And all these do is make sure your lines are straight when you're cutting. All right. You make sure it's touching the edge of the piece of wood, and whenever you draw a line, everybody know what 90 degrees is, right? You're taking geometry. All right, that is 90 degrees to this right here. So that's where you would do a cut. All right, we're going to practice this in a few minutes. This is actually 2x4. Its nominal dimensions are 2x4. It's actually 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. All right? There'll be a test later. But when they say 2x4, get something that looks like this. All right? Actually, if you measure it, it's a little.
That's what I was just asking. I was asking the short answer.
Yeah.
But basically, it's 4 inches wide, almost, close, about 2 inches wide. All right, the 2x6 is going to be 6 inches almost, not quite. It starts out that way. When they dry it, it gets smaller. Pretty easy. A lot of times you won't even wear gloves. Most of the times, because they're very difficult to nail or do anything with gloves on. It's actually if you want to protect your hands from getting hit while you're nailing, don't wear gloves because you don't have the coordination with them. When you're nailing, all you have to do is make sure, first of all, you're going to have safety glasses on, right? But when you're doing it, you want to be perpendicular in all directions. Can you see how if I did like this, where's the nail going to end up?
Out of the wood.
All right. So in this way, it's not as good either. So you want to be totally square on all 4 sides. It's not rocket science. The people that couldn't get into medical school are framers. So, but basically you start, you keep your fingers at the low part, you start tapping it. That's about 6 times, right? Or 7 or whatever. And then after that, you move your hands away. All right, you want to get it in there pretty snug, right? And then after that, you don't do like this because you're losing leverage. You want to have your hands back here, and then you'll just gently tap it back in. Okay, we're all going to practice that. Okay. Now, if you bend it halfway down, it's not a problem. Pull it right back out. Okay. You guys want to practice that?
Oh, sure.
I'll make it easy. Things when you're sawing, to start off with, you'll place your thumb or finger right next to the line, and you will pull back about 3 or 4 strokes. Okay. All right. Now, you don't push down very hard on the saw. Let it do the work. Now, this is sort of it's called a shortcut saw. You can use this one. You can use any of them because what it does is it has more teeth and it's sharper teeth, closer together, so it rips a lot faster. All right. So, who wants to be the first one? And it's pretty simple. All you do is keep the saw on the line. To the left of the line is going to be the left, to the right, right, okay? And then you want to keep straight vertical. You want to keep your saw as square as you can. But again, it's not rocket science. Yeah, you can start on that side. Now when you're cutting, it's always a good idea to have your foot on a piece of wood so that it doesn't move around, okay? Who wants to be first?
There's nothing you can do to a house to change the looks of it more cheaply than with paint. Paint will change the looks drastically. You can buy, you've got to have a bucket. When you're painting trim, I would get a small bucket like this because your arm will get tired of holding a bigger bucket with the paint. So get you a small bucket like that to pour your paint in. Masking tape if you're going to paint a door and you want to keep from scraping the glass, or you can just be as careful as you want and then use a little razor blade scraper, but be real careful to scrape the paint. You can buy disposable foam brushes, you can buy disposable paint brushes, and there is one in here. If you're going to be painting trim, I like these little sash brushes cut at an angle because they're just, you can kind of use your palm as a fulcrum, and it's just, I think it's easier. Here's a disposable brush. You can get those at Home Depot. You can get a bag full of little brushes, and instead of wasting gallons and gallons of water to clean the brush, you can throw the brush away.
Okay, I'm going to type in there. I encourage you not to get the best brushes, to get cheap brushes,
right.
And on Friday, say goodbye to them and throw them out. Do not bring them home to High Point, okay? Because they're wet and gooky, and we don't need to bring them home. And your families, unless they really ask for them, don't want them back.
The disposable ones work great. There's your roller pan, the roller cover, and you can buy contractor packs of these at Home Depot or Lowe's, like a dozen, and split them between you. Pour your paint in there, roll it down in there. Use your trim brush, like paint in the corners where you can't get to with the roller, paint down on the floor, paint up high, and then you can roll everything else. When you roll, if you're doing a big wall area, and this is on, wet your brush, your roller, do a W, that spreads the paint out, and then start up and down with the paint to spread it out.
That's where you're going to be doing a lot of painting, okay? And you're not going to have access to like nice sinks to clean up at the end. You're going to have a garden hose to clean up at the end. And what's going to happen is people are not going to want you, the residents are not going to want you, flooding their driveways and making mud holes and all that stuff. So you have to clean up. Clean up is a real big thing. What I suggest you do between now and July is your local doctor that you might know, if he could get you some rubber gloves, cheap ones. I paint with those, and at the end of the day, it keeps a lot of paint off of me. Now I know on these trips we have a lot of fun having paint wars and all that stuff. You'll see in the videos, and that's fine. It's all fine too. That's great, but it'll help you with your cleanup. It's great. You just rip that off, and all that extra paint, it just goes right in the garbage.
You all have rubber gloves already. Just consider that done.